Alexander Harrington was a man of power, wealth, and unshakable control, until one wrong turn brought Imani Brooks into his world. She wasn't impressed by his money, only by the man beneath the armor. But when fear threatens to push her away, will he risk his heart to hold on to love? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The lights of New York City sparkled outside the windows of Le Chandelier, one of the most exclusive restaurants in Manhattan. Alexander Harrington glanced at his watch impatiently. His investors were late, which annoyed him. In his world, time was money, and he hated wasting either. "More water, Mr. Harrington?" asked the waiter, approaching with a crystal pitcher. "Yes," Alex replied without looking up from his phone. At 38, he was one of the youngest CEOs in the city, having built Harrington Enterprises from the ground up. His dark hair was perfectly cut, his custom suit impeccable, and his expression permanently serious. 3 tables away, Imani Brooks was rushing through the restaurant's entrance, slightly out of breath. Her curly hair was windblown, and she was wearing a simple blue dress that she'd changed into after her shift at Daisy's Cafe. "I'm so late," she muttered to herself, scanning the crowded restaurant for her friend Jessica, who had texted her to meet here. Jessica had recently gotten a job as a hostess and had invited Imani to celebrate. Imani spotted what she thought was Jessica waving from across the room. She hurried over, weaving between tables. "Sorry, I'm late." "The bus was—" She stopped mid-sentence as she realized the person at the table wasn't Jessica at all, but a stern-looking man in an expensive suit. "Excuse me," she said, embarrassed. "I thought you were someone else." Before Alex could respond, the maitre d' approached. "Mr. Harrington, your investors just called. They've been delayed by traffic and will be here in 30 minutes. Alex's jaw tightened. Another half hour wasted. Imani turned to leave, but something made Alex speak up. "Since you're already here, why don't you join me? I find myself with unexpected free time." Imani looked at him in surprise. "Me? But I don't even know you." "Alexander Harrington," he said simply, extending his hand. "And you are?" "Imani Brooks," she replied, hesitantly shaking his hand. "Look, I really should find my friend." "Please," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I'll have them bring you whatever you'd like to drink. Consider it an apology for my rudeness a moment ago." Something in his eyes made Imani pause. They seemed lonely despite his confident demeanor. "Just until your meeting starts?" she asked, slowly sitting down. "Just until then," he agreed. The waiter returned immediately. "A drink for the lady, sir." "I'll have a ginger ale," Imani said, before Alex could order her something fancy. Once the waiter left, an awkward silence fell between them. "So," Imani said, unable to bear the quiet, "what kind of business meeting are you having in a place like this?" "The kind that secures $50 million in investment capital," Alex replied matter-of-factly. Imani's eyes widened. "50 million? What do you do, print money?" The corner of Alex's mouth twitched, almost like a smile, but not quite. "Real estate development, mostly. My company builds affordable housing complexes." "Affordable?" Imani raised an eyebrow. "In New York City?" "I don't think that word means what you think it means." Instead of being offended, Alex found himself intrigued by her directness. No one spoke to him this way anymore. "You'd be surprised," he said. "What do you do, Imani Brooks?" "I'm a waitress at Daisy's Cafe in Brooklyn," she said without embarrassment. "But I'm also taking night classes in graphic design." Alex had never met anyone who introduced themselves as a waitress first. In his world, people defined themselves by their achievements and ambitions, never by what paid the bills. "Why graphic design?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Because I love making beautiful things that tell stories," she answered simply. "And because every time I create something it feels like I'm adding a little bit of good to the world." Her sincerity caught him off guard. It had been a long time since Alex had spoken to someone who wasn't trying to impress him or get something from him. Their drinks arrived, and as they continued talking, Alex found himself relaxing slightly. Imani had a way of making conversation easy, jumping from topic to topic with enthusiasm that was somehow not exhausting. "You don't smile much, do you?" she asked suddenly. Alex stiffened. "I smile when there's something to smile about." That must not happen very often, Imani observed, sipping her ginger ale. Not in my experience, no. That's sad, she said without pity, just stating a fact. Life's too short to wait for reasons to be happy. Alex studied her face. She was beautiful, but not in the calculated way of the women he usually encountered. Her eyes were warm and direct, missing the calculation he'd grown accustomed to seeing. You speak as if happiness is a choice, he said. Isn't it? Imani countered. I mean, not always. Bad stuff happens, but what we do with it, that's on us. A memory flashed through Alex's mind. Sophia, the woman he'd almost married 10 years ago, in bed with his former business partner. The betrayal that had taught him never to trust anyone again. Sometimes, he said coolly, experience teaches us to be cautious with our emotions. Imani seemed to sense the shift in his mood. I should probably go find my friend, she said, glancing around the restaurant. Thanks for the drink, Mr. Harrington. Alex, he corrected her automatically, and your friend seems to be at the hostess. Stand. Imani turned to see Jessica waving frantically at her from across the restaurant. There she is. Imani stood up. It was nice meeting you, Alex. As she turned to leave, Alex surprised himself by asking, which cafe did you say you worked at? Daisy's in Brooklyn. Why? He shrugged. No reason. Imani smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. Well, if you ever want real coffee instead of whatever fancy stuff they serve here, stop by. I make a mean cappuccino. After she left, Alex watched her greet her friend with a hug. There was something about Imani Brooks that had temporarily broken through the ice he'd built around himself. It was unsettling. His phone rang, breaking his train of thought. Harrington, he answered sharply. Alex, it's Marcus. We're 5 minutes away. Fine. He hung up without saying goodbye. By the time his investors arrived, Alex had returned to his usual self, focused, sharp, and completely closed off. But throughout the meeting, he found his thoughts drifting to his conversation with Imani. 3. Days later, Alex found himself standing outside Daisy's cafe in Brooklyn, wondering what the hell he was doing there. This wasn't like him. He never made impulsive decisions, especially not for something as trivial as coffee. Through the window, he could see Imani moving between tables, smiling and chatting with customers. There was an ease about her that he envied. Just as he was. About to walk away, she looked up and saw him. Her surprise was evident, but she smiled and waved him in. I didn't think you'd actually come, she said when he entered. I was in the neighborhood, he lied. Sure you were, Imani replied, clearly, not believing him. What can I get you? You mentioned something about a cappuccino. Coming right up, have a seat. The cafe was nothing like the places Alex usually frequented. It was small and somewhat worn, but clean and filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and pastries. The clientele was diverse, students with laptops, elderly couples sharing newspapers, young mothers with strollers. When Imani brought his coffee, she set it down with a flourish. One mean cappuccino as promised. The foam was decorated with a simple heart design. Alex stared at it, oddly touched by the small gesture. Do you do this for all your customers? He asked. Only the ones who look like they could use a little extra kindness, she replied with a wink before moving on to her next table. Throughout his visit, Alex observed Imani's interactions with the other customers. She seemed to know most of them, by name, asking about their families or jobs. With some, she lingered a bit longer, an elderly man who seemed lonely, a harried-looking woman with twin toddlers. When his cup was empty, Alex left a generous tip and headed for the door. Imani caught up with him just as he was leaving. Thanks for stopping by, she said. Was the coffee up to your standards? It was excellent, he admitted. Thank you. Will we see you again? There was genuine curiosity in her question, not expectation. Perhaps, he replied non-committally. I have a busy schedule. Imani nodded. Of course, well, if you do come back, I work Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Saturdays too, sometimes. On the drive back to Manhattan, Alex couldn't stop thinking about Imani. It had been years since he'd felt this kind of attraction to anyone. After Sophia's betrayal, he'd limited himself to brief, emotionless affairs that never threatened his carefully constructed walls. But there was something about Imani Brooks that made him want to know more. Her straightforward manner, her genuine warmth, it was refreshing in a world where everyone seemed to have an agenda. Back in his penthouse apartment that evening, Alex stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city lights. His assistant had left several urgent messages, and his inbox was full of emails demanding his attention. Yet all he could think about was a simple heart drawn in coffee foam and the woman who'd created it. "This is ridiculous," he muttered to himself, turning away from the window. "You're not doing this again." But even as he tried to focus on work, Alex knew he would be returning to Daisy's cafe. And for the first time in 10 years, the thought of seeing a woman again filled him with something that felt dangerously like hope. Over the next few weeks, Alex found himself creating excuses to visit Daisy's cafe. What started as once a week soon became 3 times, always on days when Imani was working. He told himself it was just about the coffee, but deep down he knew better. "Well, look who's here again," Imani said with a smile as Alex walked in on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. "Let me guess, you were in the neighborhood." "Business meeting nearby," he replied, shaking water from his umbrella. "Uh-huh." She gave him a knowing look. "The usual?" "Please." As Imani prepared his cappuccino, Alex couldn't help but notice how she brightened the small cafe with her presence. Her dark curls were pulled back in a messy bun today, and she hummed softly while she worked. "You seem happy," he observed when she brought his drink. "I am," she said, sitting down across from him during what appeared to be her break. "I got an A on my design project, and my professor said I have real talent." "Congratulations," Alex said, surprised by how genuinely pleased he felt for her. "That's excellent news." "Thanks." She studied him for a moment. "You know, for someone who claims to only be here for coffee, you've become quite a regular." Alex felt caught like a teenager with a crush. "The coffee is good," he said lamely. Imani laughed. "Alex Harrington, I think you might actually like me." The directness of her statement threw him off balance. In his world, people played games, spoke in subtexts and innuendos. Imani just said what she thought. "I find your company refreshing," he admitted finally. "Well, that's a start." She glanced at her watch. "My break's over. Enjoy your coffee." As she walked away, Alex felt both relieved and disappointed. Part of him wanted to say more, to ask her to dinner perhaps. But another part, the cautious, wounded part, held him back. His phone buzzed with an incoming call from his assistant, Linda. "Yes," he answered. "Mr. Harrington, don't forget you have the charity gala tonight. Your tux has been delivered to your apartment." Alex sighed. "Thank you, Linda." The annual Children's Hospital benefit was one of the few social events Alex actually bothered to attend. He'd lost his younger sister to leukemia when he was a teenager, and children's medical causes were the one area where he allowed himself to be genuinely charitable. As he was leaving the cafe, an idea struck him. He turned back to Imani, who was wiping down a table. "Do you have plans tonight?" he asked abruptly. She looked up, surprised. "Tonight? No, just studying. Why?" "There's a charity event I'm attending. Would you like to join me?" The words were out before he could reconsider, and now they hung in the air between them. Imani tilted her head, considering. "Is this a date?" "Alex Harrington? It's a charity gala," he replied evasively. "That doesn't answer my question." Her eyes held his, refusing to let him off the hook. "Yes," he said finally. "I suppose it is a date." A slow smile spread across her face. "What time?" "I'll pick you up at 7. I'll text you my address." She pulled out her phone, and they exchanged numbers for the first time. "Fair warning, though, I don't own anything fancy enough for a gala." "Don't worry about that," Alex said, already forming a plan. Back in his office, Alex found it difficult to concentrate on work. He'd asked Imani on a date, something he hadn't done in years. Usually, if he wanted company, his assistant would arrange it with women who understood the rules. No attachments, no expectations. This was different, and it made him nervous in a way business deals worth millions never did. At 3 p.m., he called the boutique, where he occasionally bought gifts for female business associates. "Mr. Harrington, always a pleasure," the owner, Mrs. Chen, greeted him. "What can I help you with today?" "I need an evening gown size." He paused, realizing he didn't know Imani's size. Actually, I'm sending someone to you directly. Her name is Imani Brooks. Please help her select something appropriate for tonight's Children's Hospital benefit. Of course, Mr. Harrington, we'll take excellent care of her. Next, he texted Imani. There's an appointment for you at Chen's Boutique on 5th Avenue at 4 p.m. Please select whatever you like for tonight. I'll still pick you up at 7. Her reply came quickly. Alex, I can't accept that. It's too much, he responded. Consider it a loan. The event requires formal attire. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before her next message. Okay, but I'm returning it tomorrow. This doesn't mean you can buy me, Alexander Harrington. Despite himself, Alex smiled. That was exactly why he was drawn to her. She couldn't be bought. At 6:45, Alex's driver pulled up outside Imani's apartment building in Brooklyn. It was a modest brick building, well maintained but far from the luxury he was accustomed to. Alex straightened his bow tie nervously before getting out of the car. He pressed the buzzer for apartment 3B. I'll be right down, Imani's voice came through the intercom. A few minutes later, the building door opened, and Alex forgot how to breathe. Imani stood there in a deep blue gown that hugged her curves before flowing to the floor. Her curls were styled in an elegant updo, with a few tendrils framing her face. The look was completed with simple silver jewelry that caught the light when she moved. You look beautiful, he said, his voice unusually soft. Thank you, she replied, a slight blush on her cheeks. Mrs. Chen was amazing. She insisted this was the one the moment I tried it on. She was right. As they drove to the gala, Alex noticed Imani looking out the window with wonder at the city lights. I've lived in New York all my life, but I've never seen it from a limousine before, she admitted. The view's better from a helicopter, Alex said without thinking. Imani laughed. Of course you have a helicopter. Why wouldn't you? Her laughter was contagious, and Alex found himself smiling too. It's for business travel, he explained. Saves time. Time for what? She asked, suddenly serious. More work? The question caught him off guard. What else would it be for? Living, Alex. Enjoying life. He didn't have an answer for that. When they arrived at the Plaza Hotel, photographers lined the red carpet. Alex placed his hand lightly on Imani's back as they walked in, feeling her tense under his touch. There are a lot of cameras, she whispered. Just smile and keep walking, he advised. They're more interested in celebrities than businessmen. But he was wrong. As they entered, several photographers called his name. Mr. Harrington, over here, who's your date tonight? Alex guided Imani past them without responding. He was used to this, it came with his position, but he realized Imani wasn't. Are you okay? He asked when they were inside. I think so, she said, taking a deep breath. Do people always shout at you like that? Not always, but at events like this, yes. He handed her a champagne flute from a passing waiter. It comes with the territory. The ballroom was elegantly decorated with crystal chandeliers and floral arrangements. A string quartet played softly in one corner, while New York's elite mingled and networked under the guise of charity. Alex, my boy. A silver-haired man approached them with a wide smile. Good to see you here. Senator Williams, Alex greeted him with a handshake. This is Imani Brooks. Imani, Senator James Williams. Pleasure. To meet you, my dear, the senator said, kissing her hand. Likewise, Senator, Imani replied politely. Alex rarely brings dates to these functions, the senator commented with a wink. You must be special. Before Imani could respond, a woman in a red gown approached their group. Alexander, darling, she cooed, kissing Alex's cheek. It's been too long, Alex stiffened visibly. Sophia, I didn't know you would be here. Imani immediately noticed the change in Alex's demeanor. This was clearly someone from his past. I'm on the committee this year, Sophia explained, her eyes flickering to Imani with poorly disguised curiosity. Won't you introduce me to your friend? Sophia Winters, Imani Brooks, Alex said tersely. Sophia is a former acquaintance. Sophia's smile tightened at the word acquaintance. How modest of you, Alexander. We were engaged once upon a time. Imani felt the tension radiating from Alex. This was the woman who had hurt him. It's nice to meet you, Imani said diplomatically. Likewise. Sophia's gaze swept over Imani's dress. Chen's boutique, isn't it? Alex always did have exquisite taste. He used to buy me the loveliest things. The implication was clear. You're just another girl he's dressing up. Before Imani could respond, Alex placed his hand on her back again. If you'll excuse us, we should greet the host. As they walked away, Imani could feel how rigid Alex had become. His jaw was clenched, and he barely looked at her. She's the one, isn't she? Imani asked quietly. The one who hurt you? Alex looked at her sharply. What makes you say that? The way you froze when you saw her, and the way she tried to make me feel like I'm just a replacement. For a moment, Alex said nothing. Then, Sophia and I were engaged 10 years ago. I found her in bed with my business partner the week before our wedding. Imani winced. I'm sorry. Alex, that's awful. It was a valuable lesson, he said coldly. One I don't intend to forget. The evening continued, but the easy rapport between them had vanished. Alex introduced Imani to various important people, but he remained distant, as if Sophia's appearance had reminded him why he kept his walls up. During dinner, they sat at a table with several of Alex's business associates and their spouses. While Alex discussed investments and market trends, Imani chatted with a doctor's wife about her volunteer work at the children's hospital. They're such brave little souls, the woman Eleanor was saying. I read to them twice a week. That sounds wonderful, Imani replied. I love reading to my niece. She's 4 and insists on the same story every time. You should join us sometime, Eleanor suggested. We always need volunteers. I'd like that, Imani said sincerely. Alex, overhearing this exchange, felt something shift inside him. Imani fit in here, not because she was trying to impress anyone, but because her warmth was genuine. Even in this room full of wealth and power, she remained completely herself. After dinner came the auction. Alex bid generously on several items, winning a weekend at a vineyard in Napa Valley. You didn't have to do that, Imani said when he returned to their table. You've already donated so much tonight. It's for a good cause, he replied. Is that the only reason? She asked, seeing something in his expression. Alex hesitated. My sister died of leukemia when she was 12. I was 14. Imani's face softened with genuine sympathy. I'm so sorry, Alex. It was a long time ago, he said, but his eyes told a different story. Impulsively, Imani reached across the table and took his hand. To her surprise, he didn't pull away. As the evening wound down, they found themselves on the terrace overlooking the city. The night was cool, and Alex noticed Imani shiver slightly. Without a word, he removed his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. Thank you, she said, pulling it close. For everything tonight. It was educational. Educational? Alex raised an eyebrow. I got to see your world, she explained. And I think I understand you better now. What do you understand? He asked, genuinely curious. You've built walls around yourself because of what happened with Sophia. You focus on work because it's safe. Numbers don't betray you. She looked up at him. But you're lonely, Alex. Her words hit too close to home, and he felt his defenses rising again. You don't know me as well as you think you do. Maybe not, she conceded. But I'd like to. The honesty in her eyes made him uncomfortable. This wasn't part of his plan. He'd asked her to the gala on impulse, but now things were becoming complicated. It's getting late, he said, checking his watch. We should go. The ride back to Brooklyn was quiet. Alex kept a careful distance between them on the seat, his mind racing with conflicting thoughts. Part of him wanted to pull Imani closer, to see where this unexpected connection might lead. But the cautious part, the part that had protected him for a decade, warned him to stop now before he got hurt again. When they reached her apartment building, Alex walked her to the door. I had a wonderful time, Imani said, turning to face him. Thank you. You're welcome, he replied formally, as if they were concluding a business meeting. Imani studied his face for a moment, then sighed. You're doing it again, aren't you? Putting up those walls. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. She handed him back his jacket. Good night, Alex. As she turned to go, Alex surprised himself by catching her arm. Imani, wait. She looked back at him, expectant. Would you? He paused, struggling with words that once would have come easily. "Would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? Just the two of us, somewhere quieter." A slow smile spread across her face. "I'd like that." Before he could overthink it, Alex leaned down and kissed her gently. It was brief, almost hesitant, but it sent a jolt through him that no business deal ever had. "Good night, Imani," he said softly. As his car pulled away, Alex touched his lips, still feeling the warmth of hers. For the first time in 10 years, he was terrified, not of failure or betrayal, but of hope. The next morning, Alex sat in his corner office overlooking Manhattan, unable to focus on the contracts in front of him. His mind kept drifting back to Imani, her smile, her honesty, the kiss they'd shared. "Mr. Harrington?" Linda's voice came through the intercom. "Your 10 o'clock is here." "Send them in," he replied, straightening his tie. The meeting was with a potential investor, but Alex found himself checking his phone repeatedly, wondering if he should text Imani about their dinner plans. This wasn't like him at all. Alexander Harrington didn't get distracted by women. He didn't daydream during important meetings. "I think we can come to an agreement," said the investor, extending his hand at the end of the hour. Alex shook it firmly, hoping his distraction hadn't been obvious. "My legal team will draw up the paperwork." After the investor left, Alex picked up his phone and typed a quick message to Imani. "Dinner tonight at 7? I'll pick you up." Her reply came a few minutes later. "Looking forward to it. Nothing fancy this. Time okay, just be yourself." Alex stared at her words. Be yourself. When was the last time he'd truly been himself with anyone? The real Alex, not the powerful CEO, not the calculating businessman, had been buried for so long, he wasn't sure who that person was anymore. At lunch, his brother Michael stopped by unexpectedly. "What brings you here?" Alex asked as Michael made himself comfortable in the visitor's chair. "Can't a guy visit his workaholic brother without an agenda?" Michael grinned. His resemblance to Alex was striking, though at 35 he was slightly younger and considerably more relaxed. "You always have an agenda," Alex replied, but there was affection in his voice. "Find you caught me. I saw the society page this morning." Michael pulled out his phone and showed Alex a photo from the gala. There he was with Imani, her face captured in mid-laugh, while he looked at her with an expression that surprised even him. He looked almost happy. "Who's the mystery woman?" Michael asked. "The article says her name is Imani Brooks, but there's no other information. Very unlike you to bring a date to these things." Alex took the phone to look more closely at the picture. "She's just someone I met recently." "Just someone?" Michael raised an eyebrow. "The Ice King of Manhattan doesn't bring just someone to the Children's Hospital benefit." "Don't call me that," Alex said irritably. "Sorry, but you know that's what they call you behind your back, right? Ever since Sophia, you've had this reputation for being cold, untouchable." Alex felt a flash of anger. "I learned my lesson with Sophia. Business and pleasure don't mix." "So, what's different about this one?" Michael pressed. "Because I haven't seen you look at anyone like that in 10 years. Alex didn't have an answer. What was different about Imani? Everything, really. She didn't care about his money or his status. She challenged him. She saw through his defenses. "We're having dinner tonight," he said finally. Michael's face broke into a genuine smile. "Good for you, bro. It's about time you started living again." After Michael left, Alex tried to concentrate on work, but the afternoon dragged on endlessly. By 6 p.m., he decided to leave early, something he rarely did. His driver took him to a small Italian restaurant he'd researched earlier. It wasn't fancy, as Imani had requested, but it had excellent reviews and a quiet, intimate atmosphere. Alex arrived at Imani's apartment precisely at 7. This time, when she opened the door, she was wearing a simple sundress and sandals. "No limo. Tonight?" she asked when she saw his driver waiting. "I thought we'd try something different," Alex replied. "Would you rather walk? The restaurant is only a few blocks away." Imani's face lit up. "I'd love that." As they walked through the Brooklyn neighborhood, Alex felt strangely out of place in his business suit. Everyone else was dressed casually, enjoying the warm evening. Couples sat on stoops, children played in a small park they passed, and neighborhood. Restaurants had tables set up on the sidewalks. "This is where you live," Imani said, noticing his observations. "The real New York. Not skyscrapers and penthouses, but people living their lives. It's different, he admitted. Good different? He looked down at her hopeful expression, and nodded. Yes. The restaurant was cozy, with red-checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. They were seated in a corner booth, and for the first time that day, Alex felt himself truly relax. So, Imani said after they'd ordered, "Tell me something about Alexander Harrington that isn't in the business section." Alex thought for a moment. "I play the piano." "Really?" Her eyes widened with interest. "For how long?" "Since I was 6. My mother insisted both Michael and I learn an instrument. He chose guitar, I chose piano. Do you still play?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "When I can't sleep." "I'd like to hear you play someday," she said softly. The evening continued pleasantly, with conversation flowing more easily than Alex had expected. He found himself telling Imani about his childhood, his sister's illness, and how it had shaped his determination to succeed. "After Emily died, nothing was the same," he explained. "My parents kind of retreated from each other. My father buried himself in work, my mother in charity functions. I guess I learned from them that staying busy was the way to handle pain." Imani reached across the table to touch his hand. "I'm sorry you went through that. Losing someone you love changes you." "You sound like you speak from experience," Alex observed. "My father," she said quietly. "When I was 16, heart attack, it was sudden. One day he was there, the next he was gone. My mom had to work 2 jobs after that to support me and my younger brother." "Is that why you work so hard now?" Alex asked. "Taking classes while working full-time?" Imani nodded. "Partly, but also because I want to make something of myself. I want my mom to be proud, to know all her sacrifices were worth it." Alex marveled at how easy it was to talk to her, how the conversation moved from light topics to deeper ones without effort. By the time they finished their meal, he felt as if he'd known her much longer than just a few weeks. As they walked back to her apartment, Imani slipped her hand into his. The simple gesture felt more intimate than any of the calculated touches he'd experienced in recent years. "I had a wonderful time," she said when they reached her door. "So did I," Alex replied, surprising himself with his sincerity. This time when he kissed her, there was no hesitation. He pulled her close, feeling her respond with equal warmth. For a brief moment, all his doubts and fears were silenced. When they finally broke apart, Imani's cheeks were flushed. "Would you like to come in for coffee?" Alex hesitated. Part of him wanted nothing more than to follow her inside, but another part warned that he was moving too fast, getting too involved. "I should go," he said reluctantly. "Early meeting tomorrow." Disappointment flickered across her face, but she nodded. "I understand. Call me." "I will," he promised. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Imani settled into a routine of sorts. They had dinner together several times a week, sometimes at restaurants, sometimes at her small apartment where she cooked for him. On Sundays, they would walk in Central Park or visit museums. Alex found himself looking forward to these moments, away from his corporate world. With Imani, he could simply be a man enjoying time with a woman he cared about, not the CEO of Harrington Enterprises. He even brought her to his penthouse one evening, feeling strangely nervous as she explored the sleek, minimalist space. "It's beautiful," she said, looking out at the city lights from his floor-to-ceiling windows, "but it doesn't really feel like you live here." "What do you mean?" "There are no personal touches," she explained. "No photos, no mementos. It's like a very expensive hotel room." Her observation struck a chord. She was right. He'd never made this place a true home. It was just somewhere to sleep between workdays. "Show me your piano," Imani requested. He led her to a separate room where a grand piano stood, gleaming in the soft light. Unlike the rest of the apartment, this room felt lived in, with music sheets scattered on a side table and a worn-in leather chair positioned to view the skyline while playing. "Will you play something for me?" she asked. Alex sat down at the bench, feeling suddenly self-conscious. It had been years since he'd played for anyone else. But Imani's expectant smile convinced him, and he began to play Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. As the melancholy notes filled the room, he closed his eyes, letting the music take over. When he finished, he opened them to find Imani watching him with tears in her eyes. "That was beautiful," she whispered. "Thank you for sharing it with me." Later that night, when they made love for the first time, it felt like coming home to a place he'd forgotten existed. Afterward, as Imani slept beside him, Alex watched the rise and fall of her breathing and realized with a shock that he was falling in love with her. The thought terrified him. The next morning, Imani sensed a subtle change in his demeanor. He was quieter, more reserved. "Is everything okay?" she asked as they had breakfast on his balcony. "Just thinking about work," he lied, but the truth was he was thinking about Sophia, about how completely he had trusted her, and how devastated he'd been when she betrayed him. Could he risk that kind of pain again? "I should go," Imani said, checking her watch. "I have class this afternoon." "I'll have my driver take you home," Alex offered. "That's okay. I can take the subway. Please." "I insist." Imani gave him a long look. "Oh, you're pulling away, aren't you?" "What?" "No, I'm just busy with work." "Alex," she said gently, "I can feel it. Something changed last night." He didn't know how to explain the war going on inside him, how much he wanted her, and how much that wanting frightened him. "I just need some time," he said finally. Hurt flashed in her eyes, but she nodded. "I understand. Call me when you're ready to talk." After she left, Alex threw himself into work with renewed intensity. He stayed late at the office, scheduled meetings back to back, and avoided responding to Imani's occasional texts. A week passed, then another. Michael stopped by his office again, concern evident on his face. "What happened with Imani?" he asked, without preamble. "You were finally happy and now you're worse than before." "Nothing happened," Alex replied tersely. "We're taking a break." "A break? Or are you pushing her away because you're scared?" Alex glared at his brother. "You don't know what you're talking about, don't I?" Michael countered. "Look, I know Sophia hurt you. What she did was unforgivable, but Imani isn't Sophia. Everyone has their price," Alex said bitterly. "Eventually she'll want something from me. My money, my connections, something." Michael shook his head sadly. "If you really believe that, then maybe you don't deserve her." The words stung more than Alex wanted to admit. That evening, he sat, alone in his piano room, playing the nocturne he'd shared with Imani. The melody seemed emptier now, hollow without her presence. His phone rang, displaying Michael's number. "What now?" he answered irritably. "It's about Imani," Michael said, his voice tight with concern. "She's been in an accident." Alex felt his heart stop. "What? How is she okay?" "Car hit her while she was crossing the street after her class. She's at Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. That's all I know." "How did you find out?" Alex was already grabbing his keys, heading for the door. "Jessica called me, Imani's friend from the cafe. Apparently you weren't answering your phone, and Imani had my business card in her bag." Alex didn't remember the drive to the hospital. One moment he was in his car, the next he was rushing through the emergency room doors. "Imani Brooks," he told the nurse at the reception desk. "She was brought in after a car accident." "Are you family?" the nurse asked. "I'm her." Alex hesitated. What was he to Imani now? After 2 weeks of silence, did he still have the right to claim any connection? "He's with me," came a woman's voice behind him. Alex turned to see an older woman with Imani's same warm eyes. "I'm Sharon Brooks, Imani's mother," the nurse nodded. "She's in room 315. The doctor will be making rounds soon." As they walked to the elevator, Sharon studied Alex carefully. "So you're Alexander Harrington. My daughter told me a lot about you. Is she okay?" Alex asked, his voice cracking with worry. "Broken leg, some cuts and bruises. She was lucky." Her tone was measured, giving nothing away about her feelings toward him. When they reached Imani's room, Alex's breath caught at the sight of her. She looked so small in the hospital bed, her leg in a cast, a bandage on her forehead. Her eyes were closed, but they opened as they entered. For a moment, when she saw him, her face lit up with joy. Then, as if remembering how things had been, left between them, her expression became guarded. "Alex," she said softly, "you didn't have to come." He moved to her bedside, taking her hand carefully. Yes, I did. Sharon watched this exchange with knowing eyes. I'll go get some coffee and give you two a minute. When they were alone, Alex struggled to find the right words. Imani, I'm so sorry. Not just for this, but for the past 2 weeks. I have been an idiot. Yes, you have, she agreed. But there was a faint smile on her lips. When Michael called when he said you were hurt, Alex's voice broke. All I could think was that I might lose you before I could tell you how I feel. Imani's eyes widened. And how do you feel, Alex? Terrified, he admitted. Terrified because I love you, and loving someone means they have the power to hurt you. Tears filled her eyes. I would never hurt you, Alex. I know that now, he said, gently wiping a tear from her cheek. Or at least I'm learning to believe it. The doctor came in then, interrupting their moment. Alex stepped back as the doctor checked Imani's vitals and explained her injuries. You're lucky, Ms. Brooks. The fracture is clean, and with proper rest and physical therapy, you should recover completely. We'll keep you overnight for observation, but you can go home tomorrow. After the doctor left, Sharon returned with coffee. Good news about going home tomorrow, she said. You can stay with me while you recover. Mom, my classes can wait, Sharon said firmly. Your health comes first. Alex cleared his throat. Actually, I have another suggestion. If you'll both hear me out. Mother and daughter looked at him expectantly. Imani, my penthouse has an elevator and plenty of space. You could stay with me while you recover. I can hire a nurse to help during the day when I'm at work. Alex, I can't impose like that. It's not an imposition, he insisted. It's what people do when they care about each other. They help each other. Sharon smiled knowingly. He has a point, sweetie, and his place probably has better accessibility than my third-floor walk-up. Imani looked between them, seeming overwhelmed. You two just met and you're already ganging up on me. Is that a yes? Alex asked hopefully. After a moment's hesitation, Imani nodded. But no, nurse, I'm not that helpless. We can discuss the details tomorrow, Alex said, taking her hand again. For now, you need to rest. As visiting hours ended, Alex reluctantly prepared to leave. He leaned down to kiss Imani gently. I'll be back first thing in the morning. You promise? There was vulnerability in her question that tore at his heart. I promise, he said firmly. No more running away. Outside the hospital, Sharon stopped him with a hand on his arm. Alexander, I don't know what happened between you and my daughter these past weeks, but I know she cares for you deeply. I care for her too, he said, more than I thought possible. She's been hurt before, Sharon continued, not just physically. Be sure about your feelings before you make promises you can't keep. I've never been more sure of anything, Alex replied honestly. I love your daughter, Mrs. Brooks, and if she'll let me, I want to be part of her life. All of it, not just the easy parts. Sharon studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Good. That's what I needed to hear. As Alex drove home that night, his mind was racing with plans. He'd have to rearrange his schedule, maybe work from home for a while. The guest room would need to be prepared, and the apartment made more accessible. For the first time in years, work wasn't his top priority. Imani was. And that realization, instead of terrifying him as it once might have, filled him with a sense of purpose and clarity. The Ice King of Manhattan was finally beginning to thaw. The next morning, Alex arrived at the hospital carrying a bouquet of sunflowers. He'd remembered Imani mentioning once that they were her favorite, bright and hopeful just like her. When he entered her room, she was sitting up in bed, looking better than the night before. Her face brightened when she saw him. You came, she said. I promised I would. He placed the flowers on her bedside table and leaned down to kiss her gently. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a car, she joked, then winced as she shifted position. The doctor says I can leave this afternoon. Are you sure about me staying with you? It's a big commitment. I've never been more sure, Alex replied, sitting on the edge of her bed. I've already made arrangements. My assistant is preparing the guest room, and I've cleared my schedule for the next week. Imani's eyes widened. You're taking time off work? For me? Is that so hard to believe? The Alexander Harrington I met a few months ago. Yes. She reached for his hand. But the Alex I've come to know? No. The doctor came in then with discharge papers and instructions for Imani's care. She would need to keep weight off her leg for at least 6 weeks, followed by physical therapy. The cuts and bruises would heal faster, but she would need help with daily activities for a while. Sharon arrived shortly after with a small suitcase of Imani's clothes and personal items. "I've packed enough for a couple of weeks," she told Alex. "Let me know if she needs anything else." A nurse arrived with a wheelchair to take Imani to the exit. Alex watched as she grimaced in pain during the transfer from bed to chair, feeling helpless and angry at himself for not being there for her these past 2 weeks. "Stop looking so worried," Imani told him as they wheeled her out. "I'm going to be fine." The ride to Alex's penthouse was quiet, with Imani drowsy from pain medication. When they arrived, he carried her from the car to the elevator, cradling her carefully against his chest. "I can get used to this," she murmured sleepily, her head resting on his shoulder. Alex smiled. "Good, because I plan to take care of you properly." The guest room had been transformed. Fresh flowers sat on the dresser, novels were stacked on the bedside table, and a small refrigerator had been added to hold drinks and snacks. "Linda thought of everything," Alex explained, referring to his assistant. "She's frighteningly efficient." "It's perfect," Imani said as he set her gently on the bed. "Thank you. Are you hungry? I can make something or order in. Just tired right now, maybe later. Of course, rest. I'll be right outside if you need anything." As Imani settled in for a nap, Alex retreated to his home office. Though he'd cleared his immediate schedule, there were still emails to answer and calls to return. He worked quietly for a few hours, checking on Imani periodically. Around sunset, he heard her calling his name. He found her trying to get out of bed on her own. "What are you doing?" he asked, rushing to her side. "I need to use the bathroom," she said, embarrassed. "I didn't want to bother you." "That's what I'm here for," he reminded her, helping her up and supporting her weight as she hopped on her good leg to the ensuite bathroom. "No more trying to do things alone, okay? That's how you'll hurt yourself more." "It's just strange," she admitted. "I'm used to taking care of myself." "I know. But sometimes it's okay to let someone else take care of you." That evening they ate dinner together in Imani's room, sitting side by side on the bed, as they watched an old movie on the television Alex had installed earlier. "This is nice," Imani said, leaning against his shoulder. "Almost worth getting." "Hit by a car for," Alex frowned. "Don't joke about that. When Michael called me, when I thought I might lose you." He couldn't finish the sentence. Imani touched his face gently. "Hey, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "I promise." The days fell into a routine. Alex would work from home in the mornings, then spend afternoons with Imani. They watched movies, played board games, and talked for hours. Sometimes he would carry her to the piano room and play for her. Other times, they would sit on the balcony, wrapped in blankets against the autumn chill, watching the city below. Sharon visited often, bringing home-cooked meals and motherly concern. To Alex's surprise, she treated him with warmth and acceptance, as if she'd already decided he was good for her daughter. "You're different than I expected," she told him one afternoon while Imani was napping. "From what I read in the papers, I thought you'd be colder." "I was," Alex admitted, "before Imani." Sharon nodded knowingly. "She has that effect on people. Gets it from her father." As the weeks passed, Imani grew stronger. The cast remained, but she became more adept at using crutches, insisting on doing more for herself. Alex found himself both proud of her independence and strangely sad that she needed him less. One evening, as she sat sketching in the living room, a hobby she'd returned to during her recovery, Alex received an unexpected call. "Mr. Harrington," came the smooth voice. "It's Sophia Winters." Alex tensed. "What do you want, Sophia?" "Just to talk. I heard about your friend's accident. I'm glad she's recovering well." "How did you hear about that?" Alex asked, suspicion in his voice. "New York is a small city for people like us," Sophia replied. "Listen, I'm at the Meridian having a drink. Join me for old time's sake." "I don't think so." 20 minutes, Alex, that's all I ask. There are things I need to say to you, things I should have said years ago. Against his better judgment, Alex agreed. 20 minutes. That's it, he told. Imani he had a quick business meeting and would be back soon. She looked concerned but didn't question him. The Meridian was a quiet, upscale bar where the city's elite could meet discreetly. Sophia was waiting in a corner booth, looking as polished and beautiful as ever in a sleek black dress. Alex, she smiled, gesturing to the seat across from her. Thank you for coming. What's this about, Sophia? He asked, remaining standing. Please sit, just for a moment. Reluctantly, he slid into the booth. You look well, she said, studying him. Happy, even. Not at all like the Ice King they call you. If that's all you wanted to say, no. She reached across the table, placing her hand on his. I wanted to apologize. What I did to you was unforgivable. I was young and stupid and afraid of commitment. Alex withdrew his hand. It's in the past, is it? Sophia leaned forward. Because for 10 years you've kept everyone at a distance. You built an empire, but at what cost? Your happiness? Your ability to trust? You don't know anything about me anymore, Alex said, coldly. I know you're different with her, with Imani. I saw it at the gala. She's reached you in a way no one has since me. What's your point, Sophia? She sighed. My point is, I'm glad. You deserve to be happy, Alex. And I'm sorry I took that from you for so long. Alex was taken aback by her sincerity. For years he'd carried his anger towards Sophia like armor. He'd never considered that she might regret what she'd done. Thank you for saying that, he said finally. But I didn't come here for closure. I've already found that with Imani. Sophia nodded, a sad smile on her lips. I can see that. She seems like a remarkable woman. She is. Alex stood up. Goodbye, Sophia. As he turned to leave, she called after him. Don't make the same mistake I did, Alex. Don't let fear cost you something precious. Her words followed him all the way home. By the time he reached his penthouse, it was late. He expected Imani to be asleep, but instead found her sitting in the living room, her sketchbook open beside her. How was your meeting? She asked quietly. It wasn't a meeting, Alex admitted, sitting beside her. It was Sophia. She wanted to talk. Imani's expression remained neutral. I see. And did you? Talk? Yes. She apologized for what happened between us. After 10 years, Alex nodded. She said she's glad I found you, that I deserve to be happy. She's right about that, Imani said, taking his hand. You do deserve to be happy, Alex. He looked at her, feeling a wave of love so strong it almost overwhelmed him. You make me happy, happier than I ever thought possible. Imani's eyes softened. Then why do you look so serious right now? Alex took a deep breath. Because I need to ask you something important. He moved from the couch to one knee in front of her, wincing slightly when he saw her cast. This isn't how I planned to do this. I wanted it to be perfect, maybe on a beach somewhere or under the stars. Not with you in a cast and me just back from seeing my ex. Imani's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. But maybe this is perfect, Alex continued, because life isn't about perfect moments. It's about finding someone who makes even the imperfect moments worthwhile. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Imani Brooks, I love you. I love your honesty, your courage, your heart. You walked into the wrong restaurant and into the right place in my heart. Will you marry me? He opened the box to reveal a diamond ring, elegant and understated, just like Imani herself. Tears filled her eyes. Are you sure? After everything with Sophia, after how scared you were? I'm not scared anymore, Alex interrupted. Or maybe I am. But it doesn't matter, because a life without you scares me more than any risk of getting hurt again. Imani reached out to touch his face. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Alex slipped the ring onto her finger, then leaned forward to kiss her, pouring all his love and hope into that one moment. I should warn you, Imani said when they finally broke apart. My mother will want a big wedding. Alex laughed. Whatever makes you happy. You make me happy, she replied, echoing his words from earlier. The next few months were a whirlwind. Imani's recovery progressed steadily. The cast came off, physical therapy began, and gradually she regained her strength. And mobility. She moved back to her own apartment briefly, insisting on maintaining some independence before the wedding, but spent most nights at Alex's penthouse anyway. Alex cut back his work hours, delegating more to his management team. He wanted time with Imani, time to enjoy their engagement, time to live the life he'd been denying himself for a decade. The wedding plans grew more elaborate under Sharon's enthusiastic guidance. What had started as a small ceremony blossomed into a significant event, though still intimate by New York society standards. "Are you sure you're okay with all this?" Alex asked Imani one evening as they reviewed guest lists and seating arrangements. "As long as you're the one waiting for me at the end of the aisle, I'm okay with anything," she replied, kissing him softly. Spring arrived, bringing with it their wedding day. Central Park was in full bloom, the venue they'd chosen, a secluded garden, near the lake, transformed with white flowers and twinkling lights. In a small tent serving as the bridal suite, Sharon fussed over Imani's dress, a simple but elegant design that flowed like water when she moved. "Your father would be so proud," Sharon said, tears in her eyes. "He always said you'd find a good man someday." "I miss him," Imani whispered. "I wish he could be here." "He is, sweetheart," Sharon assured her, patting her heart. "Right here." Meanwhile, in another tent, Alex adjusted his tie nervously under Michael's amused gaze. "Relax, bro," Michael said. "She's not going to change her mind." "I know," Alex replied. "I just want everything to be perfect for her." "It will be, because you'll be there." The ceremony was everything they'd hoped for, intimate, emotional, and filled with love. When Imani appeared at the end of the flower-strewn aisle, Alex felt his heart stop. She was radiant, her smile brighter than the spring sunshine filtering through the trees as they exchanged vows. Alex's voice was steady and sure. The uncertainty and fear that had haunted him for so long were gone, replaced by the absolute certainty that Imani was his future. "I, Alexander Harrington, take you, Imani Brooks, to be my wife," he said, looking into her eyes. "I promise to love you without reservation, to support you in your goals, to laugh with you and cry with you, to grow with you in mind and spirit, and to cherish you for as long as we both shall live." Imani's voice trembled slightly as she repeated similar words, emotion making her pause between phrases. When she slipped the ring onto his finger, her hands were warm and steady. "By the power vested in me," the officiant said, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Alex cupped Imani's face gently in his hands, looking at her with all the love in his heart. "Thank you for finding me," he whispered, before kissing her. The reception was a joyful celebration, with family and close friends dancing and toasting the happy couple. Even Sophia, who had been invited at Imani's insistence, "It's part of your past and that's part of who you are," offered sincere congratulations. As the evening drew to a close, Alex and Imani shared one last dance under the stars. He held her close, still hardly believing that this extraordinary woman was now his wife. "Happy?" he asked, twirling her gently. "More than I ever thought possible," she replied, "even though you ended up with the Ice King of Manhattan," he teased. Imani laughed. "I think that title's been retired. You're just Alex now, my Alex." "Forever," he promised. Later that night, as they prepared to leave for their honeymoon, Sharon pulled Alex aside for a moment. "You know," she said, "when Imani first told me about you, I was worried. I'd read about you, seen you in the society pages. I thought, this man is going to break my daughter's heart." "And now?" Alex asked. Sharon smiled warmly. "Now I know better. You found each other when you both needed it most. She walked into the wrong restaurant but ended up exactly where she was meant to be. In the wrong place but in the right heart," Alex mused. "Exactly." Sharon patted his cheek affectionately. "Welcome to the family, son." As they drove away, wedding guests waving goodbye with sparklers lighting up the night, Imani rested her head on Alex's shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How lucky I am," he replied honestly. 10 years of building walls and you knocked them down in a matter of weeks." "You just needed the right wrecking ball," she teased. Alex laughed, feeling lighter. than he had in years. "I love you, Mrs. Harrington. I love you too, Mr. Harrington." The city lights twinkled around them as they headed toward the airport, toward their honeymoon, toward their future. Alex held Imani's hand, their fingers intertwined, the new rings catching the light. They had found each other by accident, a chance meeting in the wrong restaurant. But as Alex looked at his wife's smiling face, he knew with absolute certainty that his heart had been the right place all along. For a man who had been frozen for so long, who had hidden behind wealth and success to avoid feeling anything, love had come as a surprise, a beautiful, unexpected, life-changing surprise named Imani, who had shown him that the risk of pain was worth the promise of joy. As they drove through the night toward their new beginning, Alex knew that wherever life took them next, they would face it together. No more walls, no more fear, just love, honest and true, the kind that comes once in a lifetime, if you're lucky enough to be in the wrong place at exactly the right time.